And speaking of Republican presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann, she's been taking heat for a gaffe regarding her Iowa hometown. The comments came moments after she officially launched her 2012 bid. So while talking to our chief political correspondent, Carl Cameron, listen to what happened.
What I want them to know is, just like John Wayne was from Waterloo, Iowa, that's the kind of spirit that I have too. It's really about not being ashamed of America, it's embracing America, loving America.
John Wayne, the actor, was born in Iowa, but not Waterloo. Congresswoman Bachmann mixed him up with serial killer John Wayne Gacy. She has since admitted that she misspoke. And it's not the first time that she's had a slip of the tongue recently. But do voters care about these kinds of gaffes, or do they care more about policies? Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host, and she's also a Fox News contributor. Lars Larson is also a syndicated radio talk show host. Good to see both of you.
Hi, Gretchen.
All right, so Leslie, I'm going to give you a first crack at this. Do the voters really even give a darn about John Wayne Gacy or John Wayne?
It really depends if they like Michelle Bachmann or not. And because I say the Democrats are saying she doesn't know the difference between John Wayne and John Wayne Gacy, an actor and a serial killer. What if she were saying, well, look, I'm sorry we invaded Italy because it began with an I instead of Iraq. Of course, there are those that support her and like her that say it's a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. The bottom line is this is offensive to some. And in addition to that, there have just been too many mistakes. And honestly, unfortunately, not enough voters care, left or right, about those mistakes.
And yet, Lars, here is what is so irritating to me about the political landscape that we now find ourselves in, is that every single little thing that anyone ever says, and I'll get to it in a moment because I think it's more men or more women than men, but now all the interviews today for Michelle Bachmann, if you look at the transcripts, they were all about the gaffes and not one darn thing about her policies. And I think that that's a disservice to the American public.
I think it is, too. And in fact, I think it's a disservice to suggest she mixed it up with John Wayne Gacy. I think she simply missed the fact that John Wayne was born in Winterset, Iowa. And I tend to focus on those mistakes that are significant to the job. It's significant that we have a president that thinks we have 57 or 58 states, not 50 of them. It's significant we have a president who couldn't figure out last week at Fort Drum whether he had given a medal to somebody who was still alive or given it posthumously. That's a pretty significant mistake because it has something to do with the job. Knowing where John Wayne was born doesn't have anything to do with the job. And the fact is, I think this woman irritates liberals because she's bright, she's well educated, she's a tax law lawyer. Can you imagine something more tougher kind of subject than that?
But
and
Leslie,
then they want to pick on tiny little mistakes like this.
I mean, Leslie, let's face it. If the president sat down and did an interview after that Medal of Honor last week, they would not have spent the mainstream media the entire interview on that. They may have asked one question and then gone on to policies.
I think, one, because he's a sitting president, although, Gretchen, you and I, sorry, Lars, you're going to be out of it on this, as ladies, we do have a tougher road. I was told once by a male boss, Leslie, as a talk show host, because you're a female, you're going to have to be smarter than the guys, because both men and women are going to hold you to a higher standard.
True.
We see this with Michelle Bachmann. We've seen it with Sarah Palin. We saw it with Hillary Rodham Clinton. But, Lars, to your point about the job, you know what? When you say $700 billion and it's $25 billion, which she did, when you say the shot heard throughout the world that rang out was in New Hampshire, and I'm from Massachusetts, very different states. Those two just are small examples of what is applicable to the job.
Why do liberal women not come out in defense of just women in general when it appears that it's only women who are conservative who face this kind of treatment?
Oh, please, Gretchen. Hillary Rodham Clinton did not face this kind of treatment from both left and right.
Please answer the question, Leslie. It's a legitimate question.
I am answering the question. I support women. I'm a feminist. I have come out defending Michelle Bachmann, for example, when people got on her for traveling to Washington, D.C. while her kids and her husband were back in her home state. I have defended Sarah Palin in the past. Please, I'm one of those on the left who is a feminist that has defended women. But I do think, left or right, male or female, you have to get your facts straight. And I know this from the mishaps in my own career. You have to have your facts straight, especially if you're running for president.
You mean when the...
Go ahead, Lars.
Now, hold on, Leslie. How much time did you spend on the fact that the president, when he signed the guest book in England, didn't know what year it was? He was only off by 3 years. This is a guy who's seriously out of touch. I don't hear liberals do that, and I don't hear the liberal news media do it. This is an attack on people like Michelle Bachmann and people like Sarah Palin. They hate these two women, and they also see the potential in these two women
No.
to do great things.
Yeah,
and so
well,
they go after them on picky little matters like where was John Wayne born?
Right, and somebody just called Michelle Bachmann today, surprise, surprise, the day after she announces for president, Barbie with fangs. Would you agree with that depiction, Leslie?
No. As a matter of fact, yesterday there was somebody on my show that called Mitt Romney Ken as a brunette. I mean, you know, these personal attacks come, unfortunately, the polls show they're effective. I think it's terrible. I wish that we were more educated voters. I wish we were nicer, less mean-spirited people. But people love the dissension, and people love to sling the mud. It's effective, unfortunately.
Luckily, it's up to the voters to decide whether or not these little gaffes make any difference, or is it all about the policies and, by the way, the unemployment and the economy that we face right now. Leslie and Lars, great to see both of you. Thanks so much for your time.
Gretchen,
thanks, Gretchen.